Pleasant greetings to everyone, both online and in person. And thank you to the Haiti UA Day team for having me here today to discuss the steps we can take to make websites UA ready. First, let us take a minute to answer the question, what is universal acceptance or UA? Universal acceptance or UA is the principle that everyone, regardless of language, script, or geography, should be able to use the internet without technical limitations. It ensures that all valid domain names and email addresses are accepted, validated, stored, processed, and displayed correctly by all Internet-enabled applications, systems, and devices. These include those in non-Latin scripts and multiple languages, as well as new and long top-level domains. Universal acceptance is the foundation for a truly inclusive and multilingual Internet. Now, in some regions, we might think that UA is not important, but here are some reasons why universal acceptance matters. UA matters because it enables inclusion. A significant amount of Internet users speak languages that do not use the Latin script. Yet, many websites and applications still don't fully support those users. UA promotes digital inclusion for billions of users whose languages use non-Latin scripts or characters. It unlocks access to global markets using local languages and domains. It enables multilingual digital services. It supports cultural identity and local content online. UA also strengthens digital transformation initiatives by modernizing systems. It helps us to deliver multilingual e-services, allows businesses to reach wider audiences, and empowers people to use their identity online in their own language. As well as being a technical standard, UA removes barriers by supporting cultural identity, economic opportunity, and digital transformation. Here are some common universal acceptance issues on websites. Now, one sign that a website is not UA ready is when it rejects valid email addresses. For example, Andre@my.shop. Many sites still use validation rules that only allow ASCII characters or only accept 3-character TLDs, such as .com or .org. This blocks people from using domains like .store, .shop, .technology, or even .ht, which is Haiti's official country code TLD. Another common issue is how IDNs, internationalized domain names, are displayed. If a website doesn't support proper Unicode rendering, these domains might show up broken or unreadable. Sometimes, even if the front end works fine, the back end silently fails to store these names correctly, especially if the database isn't using UTF-8 or if the length of the email field is too short for EAI addresses. UA issues can affect everything from registration forms, contact pages, to login systems and email marketing tools. Now, to make a website UA ready, that is, It supports all valid domain names and email addresses. You need to address the full life cycle of data from acceptance to display. The key focus areas for UA readiness are accept, validate, process, store, and display data correctly. Let us look at each area more closely. Let us first look at accept. Users must be able to input data in their local script, whether that's accented characters in Haitian Creole or entirely non-Latin scripts like Arabic. This is the first user interaction. Input forms, fields, or mobile apps must allow users to enter characters from any scripts and should not be blocked just because their characters are non-English. For example, on the screen you'll see the characters in red. That is a valid email address, and users should be able to enter those characters without the system giving them an error. In addition, the system should not restrict input to only A to Z or 0 to 9 characters, and we should not try to limit the TLD, for example, only limiting it to 3 characters such as .com or .org. Now let us look at validate. Many websites reject perfectly valid emails due to limited or outdated validation logic. You might have even seen cases where forms that say invalid email for perfectly valid email addresses. Once the email is valid, then the valid data is what needs to be updated. UA readiness means updating your validation patterns to accept valid internationalized email addresses, which means that your validator should reject only emails that are invalid. For example, if somebody makes a typo in an email address and they accidentally add 2 @signs, in this case, that email address is correctly invalid. However, the characters, the accents, the different TLDs, once they are correct, they should be validated. When we're looking at validation, we need to check that our regular expressions are correct in the backend, or we can probably take the approach of not using regular expressions. We can also look at updating our validation libraries and also remove whitelist TLDs. For example, in a situation where your system only accepts a .com or .org TLD. Those are things that needs to be updated to ensure we check that validation box. Now let us look at process. Once the data is accepted and it is validated, the next step is to process the data. This means that the data that was entered should be able to move through the system as expected without any failure or corruption. For example, once you have processed the information, it means you should be able to send confirmation emails to internationalized email addresses without any issues. You should also be able to use IDNs and logins, password recovery, user profile, etc. If this cannot be done, then your process step has failed. Now, in order for your process to be accepted, what do you need to check? You need to check that your email processing system supports EAI. Your business logic must handle Unicode consistently, and your APIs, your workflows must pass Unicode strings intact. Once you have achieved the processing, then you can go ahead and check that box and you're closer to having your website UA ready. Now let us look at store. Once the data is accepted, validated, processed, it must be correctly stored. We must correctly store Unicode data in databases without breaking or losing characters. Data must be stored accurately and without corruption. This means using the right database encoding, for example, UTF-8 if you're using MySQL, or using fields that are long enough to store emails with long TLDs. Failure to do this can result in data corruption, unreadable characters, or worse, complete loss of data. This step, storing, is crucial for preserving accuracy, reliability, and data integrity. Once your EAI and IDNs are properly stored, then your website is one step closer to being UA ready. Now we're on the final step of making our websites UA ready, and this is display. Now, information that is received from the database should be rendered correctly on the website or the web app. You must be able to display EAIs in user profiles or system notification correctly, or you must be able to properly show IDNs in hyperlinks or navigation bars. In order to achieve your display, you must check for things such as your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript, because these must support Unicode rendering. We talk about our UI components should not convert or distort scripts. And we should also ensure that there is support for bidirectional scripts such as Arabic or Hebrew. Once you have checked all 5 boxes, that is accept, validate, process, store, and display, everything works correctly and perfectly, then you have achieved a website or a web application that is UA ready. Now, making your websites UA ready is a technical challenge and it can be overwhelming, but rest assured you are not alone on the journey. There are tools and resources available to assist you on this adventure. For example, there is the UASG documentation, which includes guides, FAQs, and developer know-hows. You can access that by visiting the uasg.tech website. And in addition, there's also community support. For example, the UASG mailing list. There is GitHub reports and also tech forums that you can capitalize on. So at this point, I just want to encourage all developers and other persons who are interested in getting websites ready or just want additional information to look into these resources. These tools and resources are available for you, and they can be a very big help. This concludes my presentation today. I want to thank you very much for listening and have a great day.